Now that I'm 80 years old, with decades of living behind me, I find myself often reflecting on the choices I made and the roads I didn't take. I've lived what many would consider a successful life, built a solid career, achieved financial security, and found comfort in a beautiful, well-furnished home. My shelves are lined with framed photos, awards, and carefully selected keepsakes, each representing a chapter in the story of a life well-organized, well-planned, and material. Looking back now, I realize that while property may grow in financial value, it doesn't enrich the soul the way a sunrise in a foreign land or a conversation with a stranger in a bustling street market can. Experiences don't gather dust. They don't break down or need repairs. They live within you, glowing softly in the corners of your mind, giving you stories to tell and memories to warm you during the quiet moments. If I could speak to my younger self, I'd say this: the world is a book, and while owning a home might be a comfortable chair to sit in, if you never turn the pages, you'll miss the story entirely. As I sit in the quiet comfort of the home, spent decades building, I've come to understand a truth I never fully grasped in my younger years. Yes, my house gave me shelter. It was a place of safety, warmth, and familiarity. The creak of the floorboards, the smell of the kitchen after a Sunday roast, the way the sunlight hit the living room just right in the late afternoon. These are comforts I've cherished. But in that same breath, I must admit, my house also quietly became a set of invisible chains. While I was busy nurturing the dream of homeownership, I didn't realize I was sacrificing something far more fleeting and precious: freedom. Owning a home, especially during my generation, was considered the pinnacle of success. And I don't regret the pride I felt crossing that threshold for the first time. Keys in hand, heart full of hope. But with that key came a quiet weight. Mortgage payments that arrived with unwavering punctuality, roofs that needed patching, leaky faucets that dripped in the night, and the constant pull of responsibility. Gradually, my world became smaller, not because I lacked imagination, but because spontaneity didn't fit within the neatly arranged schedule of bills and maintenance. I remember a friend once calling me from Italy. She was on a whim-driven journey through Tuscany, sipping wine under olive trees and laughing with strangers who quickly became friends. "You'd love it here," she said, and I would have. But at the time, I was knee-deep in repainting the guest room and waiting on a contractor to fix a faulty pipe. I told myself there would be time, that travel could wait, that one day, when the house was finally perfect, I'd take that trip. That day never came. Looking back, I see what I was truly yearning for wasn't just a change in scenery, but a transformation of spirit. Travel isn't just about seeing famous landmarks or collecting passport stamps. It's about stepping into stories that are not your own. It's about wandering through bustling markets where you don't understand the language, yet somehow connect through smiles and shared curiosity. It's about tasting food with names you can't pronounce, made with ingredients you've never used, and realizing just how expansive and diverse the world is. More than anything, travel forces you to confront the edges of your comfort zone and gently push past them. It humbles you. It invites you to see the world through someone else's eyes and reminds you how much beauty and complexity exists beyond your familiar surroundings. I now know that those kinds of experiences leave deeper imprints on the soul than any coat of paint or newly installed kitchen sink ever could. If I had given myself more permission to explore, to let go of the daily obligations that tied me down, I might have gathered stories instead of just stuff. Because in the end, it's not the house that fills you. It's the world you let yourself walk through. This isn't just a personal reflection. Science backs it up. Research in the fields of psychology and behavioral science consistently confirms what many of us come to realize only after years of living, that true and lasting happiness comes not from the things we own, but from the experiences we gather. One particularly insightful study, led by Dr. Thomas Gilovich, a psychology professor at Cornell University, found that people tend to experience greater and more enduring satisfaction from experiences than from material possessions. According to Dr. Gilovich, we are the sum total of our experiences. It's not just a poetic notion, it's a scientific truth that resonates more deeply with each passing year. When you buy a new car, a new couch, or the latest gadget, there's no denying the thrill that comes with it. You admire it, show it off, maybe even feel proud for a time. But as days turn into weeks and weeks into months, that spark fades. The object becomes familiar, routine, just another part of the background. That's the nature of material things. Their joy depreciates just like their monetary value. Eventually, we adjust, and what once excited us becomes ordinary. But experiences? They don't fade. They live on in our minds and hearts. That rainy afternoon you spent sipping tea in a Paris cafe while watching people pass by. The time you got lost in a foreign city and ended up discovering a hidden gem of a restaurant. The laughter shared on a crowded train with strangers who became friends. These moments don't age or depreciate, they deepen. Over time, they transform into stories, lessons, and cherished memories that you carry with you wherever you go. And perhaps even more importantly, experiences have a magical way of connecting us to others. They serve as bridges between generations, cultures, and even languages. Think about it. Some of your most meaningful conversations probably began with, "Remember when we," or "that time we were in." Shared memories become the threads that stitch people closer together. Whether it's a family vacation, a road trip with friends, or a solo journey where you found yourself in the most unexpected way, these moments form the tapestry of your life. Material possessions, by contrast, often isolate us. We buy them for ourselves, we enjoy them in private, and while we may occasionally show them off, they rarely inspire genuine connection. A story about your backpacking trip through the Scottish Highlands will spark more interest, empathy, and conversation than showing someone the house you bought or the TV you mounted on your living room wall. As we grow older, what we truly yearn for isn't more stuff, it's more meaning. We want to feel connected, alive, and fulfilled, and no amount of square footage or designer furniture can offer that. Experiences, on the other hand, become part of our identity. They help us understand the world and our place in it. They teach, they inspire, and they endure. Long after the things we once thought we couldn't live without have lost their shine. One of the most profound truths I've discovered, and one that's echoed in the voices of many older adults around the world, is the quiet regret of not having traveled more when the body was strong, time was abundant, and the spirit was still full of wonder. It's a sentiment so common that it feels almost universal. Countless surveys conducted with seniors and retirees reveal a striking pattern. When asked what they wish they had done more of in their younger years, traveling consistently tops the list. And not just the kind of travel for business or obligatory family visits, but travel for the soul. Adventures, journeys into the unknown, wandering through ancient cities, hiking unfamiliar mountains, or simply breathing in the air of a different corner of the world. The reasons for postponing these journeys are as familiar as they are tragic. Many believed it was too expensive. Owning a home, of course, brings its own kind of fulfillment. It represents stability, achievement, and roots. It can provide shelter for a growing family, a space to make memories, and a source of pride. But it also comes with weight. A home needs tending. Mortgages need paying, walls need painting, pipes need fixing. And every time we put off a trip because the roof needed replacing or the kitchen needed remodeling, we were unknowingly trading potential memories for maintenance. The rewards of travel are unlike anything else. They defy measurement and logic. They change you, not in loud, obvious ways, but quietly, beautifully, and permanently. Travel teaches you things no textbook can. It stretches you, challenges your assumptions, and invites you into a wider understanding of life itself. When you find yourself lost in a bustling street market in Vietnam, relying on gestures and smiles to communicate, you learn humility. When you watch the sun rise over the Grand Canyon or set over the Serengeti, you rediscover awe. When you sit beside a stranger on a train and hear their story, you cultivate empathy. These aren't just pleasant anecdotes or vacation memories. They become part of who you are. They stay with you, shape your values, and soften the edges of your worldview. They remind you that there is so much more to life than what we see out our own front windows, that beyond the fences of our property lines lies a vast, beautiful, and endlessly surprising world. And perhaps most importantly, travel gives you stories, not just for yourself, but for your children, your grandchildren, and everyone who will one day look to you for wisdom. You won't inspire anyone with tales of the granite countertops you installed or the interest rate on your mortgage, but tell them about the time you danced in the rain in a small village in Italy, or got invited to a wedding in India by a family you'd just met. And their eyes will light up. Their curiosity will spark. They'll want to go. They'll want to live. So yes, owning a home can be a worthy milestone, but don't let it become a substitute for living. Don't let four walls become the borders of your world. Because while a house is something you build, a life is something you explore. Being financially prudent has always been a cornerstone of wise living. Planning, saving, investing, these are the habits we're taught to cultivate from a young age, and rightfully so. Money provides security, options, and the ability to care for those we love. But somewhere along the way, we often forget an essential truth. Wealth is a tool, not a destination. Its greatest value lies not in how much we accumulate, but in how we use it to enrich our lives and the lives of others. When wealth becomes a measure of worth, rather than a means to facilitate meaning, we risk missing out on the very things that give life color and depth. Far too many people equate financial success solely with the amassing of tangible assets: homes, cars, investment portfolios, properties. And while these can provide comfort and legacy, they can never replace the intangible wealth that comes from lived experience. A sunrise shared with someone you love in a new country, the thrill of navigating unfamiliar streets, the joy of hearing a story in a language you don't speak but still somehow understand. These moments don't come with a price tag, yet their value is immeasurable. Investing in experiences doesn't mean living lavishly or being irresponsible. In fact, some of the most life-changing journeys can be surprisingly simple and budget-friendly. A weekend road trip to a nearby town, a train ride through the countryside, or even a walking tour of your own city can offer fresh perspectives and meaningful memories. The key is intentionality, choosing to use your time and money not just to acquire, but to explore, to live fully rather than merely exist comfortably. We live in an era where travel, once considered a luxury reserved for the elite, is now more accessible than ever before. The rise of budget airlines, homestay platforms, and online travel communities has broken down many of the traditional barriers. With a bit of planning, resourcefulness, and curiosity, it's entirely possible to see the world, or at least parts of it, without draining your savings account. There are countless stories of people who've traveled the globe on shoestring budgets, guided by little more than a backpack, a map, and an open heart. Today, technology places an entire universe of travel knowledge at our fingertips. Apps help us find the cheapest flights. Blogs offer tips for traveling on a dime. Forums connect us with locals in distant lands, willing to share meals, stories, and sometimes even spare rooms. The excuses that once held us back: it's too expensive, I wouldn't know where to start, it's too risky, no longer hold the weight they once did. The world is waiting, and the door is wider open than ever before. More importantly, the returns on travel are long-lasting and far-reaching. You don't just return from a trip with souvenirs. You come back with stories, wisdom, and a deeper appreciation for life's diversity. You return with a sense of accomplishment that goes far beyond financial gain. You come home changed, and that change seeps into how you view the world, how you connect with others, and how you live day to day. Ultimately, choosing to spend your money on experiences rather than only on possessions is not a rejection of financial responsibility. It's an embrace of holistic wealth. It's the understanding that true richness lies not in how much you have in the bank, but how deeply you've lived. And when we reach the later stages of life, it's rarely the things we've bought that occupy our thoughts. It's the laughter shared under foreign stars, the meals eaten with strangers turned friends, the unexpected adventures and quiet soul-stirring moments we dared to seek out. Let your money work for you, yes, but also let it take you places. Let it show you worlds beyond your own. Because in the end, it's not about how many square feet you own, but how many footprints you've left across the earth, how many moments took your breath away, and how many times you looked at something unfamiliar and felt utterly, vibrantly alive. To those who find themselves standing at one of life's many crossroads, wondering whether to pour their savings into bricks and mortar or to chase the distant call of the unknown, I offer this heartfelt reflection carved from 8 decades of lived experience. Possessions can wait. They will always be there, silent, unmoving, and patient. But time, oh time, is the one thing we can never reclaim once it slips through our fingers. The world outside your window is vast and endlessly fascinating. It beckons with landscapes that stir the soul, with people who can teach you more in a single conversation than some books can in a lifetime, and with moments so beautiful, they etch themselves permanently into your memory. There is magic out there, in sunrises that crest over foreign mountains, in the taste of a new dish served by loving hands in a faraway village, in the unexpected laughter shared with a stranger who doesn't speak your language but understands your heart. These are the treasures that truly enrich our lives, not the polished floors of a dream home or the numbers printed on a property deed. Possessions gather dust, experiences gather meaning, When you invest in travel, in curiosity, in saying yes to new paths, you invest in becoming a more open, empathetic, and joyful version of yourself. Now, as I sit in a comfortable home I once worked tirelessly to own, surrounded by familiar walls and familiar routines, I'm filled not with regret, but with a quiet ache for the stories I never got to live. I wonder what it would have felt like to dance in the streets of Havana, to ride the Trans-Siberian Railway across frozen landscapes, to stand beneath the cherry blossoms of Kyoto and feel spring begin in a language all its own. These are not regrets of loss, but of untapped wonder. And so, to you who still have time, whether you are 20 or 70, I say this: take the trip. Book the flight. Drive the long road with no clear destination. Say yes to that invitation, to that detour, to that dream that makes your heart race a little faster. Possessions will wait. Responsibilities will adjust. But the sunsets you miss, the strangers you never meet, the awe you never feel, those are gone once the moment passes. I take comfort in the knowledge that it's never truly too late. There's still time for me to explore, even if it's just a short trip, a new city, a weekend somewhere unfamiliar. But the earlier you begin, the richer your life will become. Not in things, but in the currency of joy, wisdom, and stories. Life is not measured by how much we accumulate, but by how deeply we've felt, how far we've gone, and how courageously we've said yes to living. So don't wait for the perfect time. It rarely comes wrapped neatly in a bow. Let your soul be stirred, your mind expanded, and your heart cracked wide open by the beauty of the unknown. Prioritize experiences. Chase moments that take your breath away. Collect memories like seashells and wear your stories like a second skin. Let the world become your greatest possession, your most precious inheritance. Because in the end, it won't be the house you bought that people will ask about. It will be the life you lived, the adventures you dared to take, the people you met, the memories you made. So go while the road still calls your name. The world is waiting.